So Jonr reached out to me asking if I'd be open to reviewing their ED12 Lite with a vacuum cleaner. To be honest, when I looked at that and I looked at the features and the price point, I was extremely intrigued because the price was perhaps the lowest I've seen any wet and dry vacuum cleaner. So I was intrigued if it was any good. Let's find out more. So yes, this is a sponsored review by Jonr. They did send me the ED12 Lite for free. However, as always, the review remains unbiased, objective. I never shared any script with Jonr. What you're hearing are my honest, objective thoughts on the ED12. And as I said, it's important throughout this review to keep in mind the price point at which this is being sold. And I will put links in the description so you see the price at the moment you're watching this. And here's what you get with the ED12. You get a 750 milliliter clean water tank and a 450 milliliter dirty water tank. You get edge cleaning, although on one side only, and it goes as close as 6 millimeters to the edge. And we'll see that in action in the cleaning tests later on. You get anti-hair tangle capabilities, which is pretty impressive and actually worked like a charm, and you'll see that again in the cleaning tests later on. You get 2 cleaning modes, normal and maximum. You get a 35-second self-cleaning cycle, a runtime of 25 to 30 minutes, and a very light machine at roughly 3.6 kilograms. You also get self-propulsion. The wheels themselves are not motorized, but the machine makes use of the force from the rotating brush to assist forward motion. And as you can see, it can actually move by itself, which really facilitates the forward motion. Unfortunately, there's no drying of the brush roll, nor is there double or dual-sided edge cleaning. But at that price point, I'm already impressed with what you do get. It's perfectly understandable you miss those. Matter of fact, Jonr does have an ED12 Pro version that has those and more, but that's not the focus of this review. What I'm more concerned with and interested to see is at this very cheap price point, is this a good value for money wet and dry vacuum cleaner that does a good job at cleaning? And the answer is yes. So I subjected the Jonr ED12 Lite to my standard cleaning tests, starting with the dried out coffee that was dried out over 12 hours. And as you can see, it had absolutely no issue getting that stain out. And what was extremely impressive was how close to the edge it actually got. So although this is only one-sided edge cleaning, it got very close to the edge, actually better than a lot of the much more expensive wet and dry vacuums that I've tested. So that was a really nice thing to see. Second test was the dried out ketchup stain. This again was dried over 12 hours, and this is a very stubborn stain. So all wet and dry vacuums really struggle to get this out. They all require a lot of passes to get it out, and the ED12 Lite was no exception. It needed a lot of passes, a little bit more passes than the average wet and dry vacuum that I've tested. But eventually, after those many passes, it did get the ketchup stain out. We were more likely to experience a fresh stain than a dried out stain, so fresh ketchup stain. And again, absolutely no issue. It got that out in the first run. And lastly, I put some milk and cereal, so a combination of wet and dry mess. And again, from the first run, it got all that mess out. This is what the brush roll looked like after those cleaning tests. There's some staining from the ketchup, understandably. So I put it back on the base to run the cleaning cycle. And well, it did clean the brush roll a bit, but as expected, it didn't do a fantastic job at cleaning it. There was less staining on the brush roll, but at 35 seconds, you can't expect much. Looking at how dirty the water it extracted from the brush roll though, as you can see, it was pretty dirty. So while it wasn't fantastically great, it actually did a good job at extracting some of that ketchup from the brush roll. And lastly, I wanted to see how well the anti-hair tangle capabilities were, if you have pets at home or whatnot. So I put a lot of long strands of hair on the floor, went over them with the ED12 Lite, and to my surprise, it actually did a fantastic job. There was absolutely no hair stuck on the brush roll, which was very impressive. Keep in mind that many wet and dry vacuums that are 2 or 3 times more expensive than the ED12 Lite don't even have anti-hair tangle capabilities. So that was again a very impressive thing. So here are my thoughts on the ED12 Lite. There are 2 things I wish it had, but I completely understand that it doesn't. The first one is a simple battery indicator. There's currently no way to know what the battery level is, and I would presume this should not be too complex to implement. The second is unrealistic to implement at this price point, but nonetheless, I wish it had brush drying. But again, I completely understand that it doesn't. And again, they do have the ED12 Pro, which does have brush drying. And there's one last small detail, is that you manually have to plug in the charger into the machine itself rather than into the base. So whenever you want to use it, you have to unplug the charger, use it, and then plug it back in, which is less convenient than, you know, the base being plugged in, and you just drop the machine on the base and it charges. But again and again and again, it's unrealistic to expect any of those at this price point. Matter of fact, I'm way too impressed with what it actually has at this price point, and it makes it a no-brainer. If you have a limited budget and want a wet and dry vacuum cleaner, value for money in this machine is fantastic. I've actually reviewed wet and dry vacuums that are 2 or even 3 times more expensive than the Jonr with the exact same feature set, actually even less. Some of them don't even have anti-hair tangle. So if you are on a budget and are looking for a wet and dry vacuum cleaner, I think the Jonr ED12 for its price is a fantastic deal. Links in the description to check out the ED12 Lite from Jonr. These are affiliate links, so if you do decide to purchase the machine, I would appreciate if you would go through these links. I may earn a small commission at absolutely no extra cost to you, but this will greatly help support the channel. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, as this encourages me to continue producing content. Until next time, cheers.